surgery. You say, well, let me get another opinion. You go to a second doctor, and the doctor says, well, yeah, you may be having an ulcer. Let's treat it with some medication. You go to another doctor, he says, just drink milk, you'll be fine.
But our experts say that's not true. While it's generally recognized throughout the industry that there can be some small margin for judgment, this tool measures precisely how much life is left on a brake pad. It indicated we still had 30% of the padding left on the brake pads on the Explorer. But that's not what Buddy told us.
But it's completely and totally wore out.
So, I'm saying, how many more miles could I get with what I had?
None. It needs to be done now. I mean, if you drive any further, you're going to wind up ruining the rotors. The pads here, all the way down to nothing.
And we asked Stuart Manning why Buddy didn't stock the $99 pads for the Ford Explorer. Manning says he does now stock them. He says he didn't stock them before because the Explorer has a relatively new and unusual braking system. Well, we checked with 3 of the largest brake pad manufacturers, and they said there's nothing unusual about the Explorer's brakes, and a wide range of brake pads for it have been readily available for years. But Manning says he simply can't stock everything. That's why his ad says he can do the $99 deal in most cases. We had another question about the $99 deal. Why would his company sell something some of his own mechanics, like this one named Angel, told us would squeak?
The fact is, the reason you're going to hear the word squeak in any brake shop anywhere in the world is because brakes squeak. They all squeak.
Angel didn't tell us that our brakes would squeak if we spent $300.
$300 has nothing to do with $99.88.
Angel was trying to sell us more expensive brake pads, and he didn't tell us that they would squeak.
Brake pads don't squeak.
You just said brake pads do squeak.
No, ma'am, I said brakes squeak. You ever notice in a movie, what's the sound effect you hear for a car stopping? Squeak. Brake squeak.
Our experts say that while squeaks are always a possibility, the only way brakes will squeak soon after a basic brake job is if the pads are inferior, the rotors aren't machined properly, or the system isn't cleaned and lubricated properly. Stuart Manning admits mistakes were made. He says the mechanics who failed to test drive our vehicles will be retrained. He also acknowledges in 2 instances we paid for work that was not done. The brake fluid on the Great Tracer was not replaced, and we didn't get all new hardware on the Explorer. But he says all the other work was in fact done, and done properly. And after Manning inspected all of the Dateline vehicles himself, listen to what he says about the brake fluid on the Explorer, which he says was replaced.
The fluid was clean and clear.
Clean and clear? Take a look for yourself. On the left is new brake fluid right out of the bottle. On the right is the fluid from the Explorer, the same fluid Stuart Manning pronounced clean and clear. Manning points out that 40 complaints at the Houston Better Business Bureau is a tiny percentage of the 86,000 brake jobs he's done in Houston. He says that in most cases he delivers on his ad. In fact, Manning says he makes more money selling the cheaper $99 brake pads than he does selling more expensive upgrades because he buys the $99 pads in bulk directly from manufacturers.
We deliver, in most cases, $99.88 friction relines. It's a statistical fact.
To prove it, Manning says, his company checked 500 repair orders at random and found 60% of those customers got the $99.88 brake job. But is that all they paid?
On those 500 cars that you surveyed, you're saying that people walked out the door with the $99.88 price. That's all they paid?
Oh, no. We may have done other repairs to the vehicles. Matter of fact, probably did in many of the cases.
What percentage of the people who drive into your Just Brake centers actually drive off your lot having only spent $99.88?
I have no idea.
Small percentage?
I'm sure.
In fact, he says, the average cost of having your brakes done at Just Brakes is not $99.88. It's $300. Manning says that's the national average at all brake shops across the country, so what's all the fuss about?
Our advertising never states that We will fix your brakes for $99.88. We say we will provide a specific service at a specific price.
Manning says his mechanics simply give information and let the customer decide what to do. He also says he has a 99% customer satisfaction rate and warranties all his work.
Just brakes.
And Manning says if you listen carefully to the ad, it clearly states what you get for $99.88.
Replacing disc pads and brake shoes, machining rotors and drums, packing bearings and adjusting and bleeding the brake system, and inspecting the balance of the brake system for any other problems.
We have talked to a number of people who really believed they could get a $99.88 brake job on their vehicles, and that's why they came to see you.
I'm sorry they believe that, but they obviously are very poor listeners.
So what should a consumer do? Well, Pat O'Reilly of AAA says if the price seems unusually cheap, be suspicious.
But when they say it's going to squeak, it's not going to last, and now all of a sudden your brake job is going from $99.88 to several $100s. To me as a consumer, it's time to go down the road and let's get another opinion.
Just Brake says it apologized to Glenn Dolezal for the unpleasant experience he had at the Just Brake store. Last week in 3 cities, including Houston, Just Brake started running new radio commercials. The new ad makes clear that the average repair at Just Brakes costs $250 to $300. If you'd like to know more about brake maintenance before taking your car in for repairs, you can log on to our website. The address is dateline.msnbc.com.